So let's jump in because we did get a question from a listener in Oregon. And she said, last month, I started listening to your podcast from the beginning. We have a lot of people that do that. There's 293 episodes.
Yeah.
So if it's going to take you a little while to get caught up, don't be overwhelmed.
Nope. Don't be.
She said, I love this forum to ask questions. I have one for you. My husband and I have been married for almost 9 months now. Before we got married, we had the conversation that I had sex before marriage with another person. My husband had not. I asked his forgiveness, and I have asked God and received it from both. I still struggle with this regularly. It is something I continually feel guilty about and know that it sometimes affects our sex life because I worry and wonder if he thinks about it. I want to give him all of me, and I sometimes feel depressed over the fact that I ruined this special connection that we were supposed to have only with each other. What advice do you have to help me let go of this baggage?
Well, first off, I think Elisa and I need to just share a little bit about our background when it comes to having sex before marriage. We were non-believers when we first met each other.
Stop kicking this one.
Yeah. So I had multiple partners prior to meeting Elisa. We met when I was 21. She was 20. Mm-hmm. We met each other in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I was going to school, and she was doing an internship that summer.
Go Buffs.
Yeah, go Buffs, for sure. And, it wasn't that soon after we had met that we began to have sex. So we totally understand the having sex prior to getting married and having sex, both of us having sex with other partners before getting married.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where, like this question, we had the conversation. When I met Tony, he had another girlfriend. They were on the rocks, and needless to say, I'm the one that's been around for 21 years. But, yay, Elisa! How many of you are happy that Tony and Elisa have been around for 21 years?
Yeah.
A little love there.
We are.
But it was one of those things where we had the conversation. And yes, early on in our marriage, I would definitely say our past impacted us. And,
Mm-hmm.
it was something that we thought about.
Yeah.
And as we've matured, as we've come to, one of the things that this person said was that she has asked for forgiveness and she knows that she's received it from both. And so as I was reading this question, there were 2 verses that I just want to share with all of you because they jumped out at me and they're really going to tie into what the solution is. And the one is that it's Isaiah 43:18, and it says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell in the past."
Man.
And I will tell you that there are marriages all over this world that are being hurt because everybody's looking backwards. And honestly, I can't have a conversation with you guys and know what's going on, know about, the comments that you're posting and what you're saying. If I'm looking back here, you can't even hear me. Well, maybe you can hear me, but you can't see me. And it's not the way we're headed. So if you're headed forward, you've got to stop looking over your shoulder and wondering, what if, or what did I do? Because the truth is, your past has made you who you are. You can't change it, right? Like you can't undo that. But by asking for forgiveness, knowing that you've received it, you can start to move forward. You can start to, and what I would say to this woman specifically is, start to hold on to the promises that God has given you. Promise of being a new creation. Yes. Did you have past partners? Absolutely. Your husband didn't. Okay, 2 different paths. He loves you for who you are. Not for the mistakes that you've made, not for all of all of these different things. That's part of the package. And he knew that, and he has chosen to forgive you. And, so 1, don't dwell in the past. The second thing is 2 Corinthians 10:5. The end of it says, we take captive every thought. Hold on, get down here. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Like I said, you can't change the past. But now when you have those thoughts, you mentioned feeling depressed over it. You mentioned feeling guilty. You mentioned worry. And just this questioning of what's going on. And the thing is that you have to take those thoughts captive. And you have to say, you know what? This is not the promise that God has for me. Right. God tells me that I'm a new creation. God tells me that once I'm forgiven, those sins are wiped away, right? He's not, God's not up there going, oh yeah, but you know what you did, yesterday? And you know what you did 2 hours ago? And you know what you did last week and last year and 10 years ago? God has forgiven you. Your husband has chosen to forgive you. When you have those thoughts, you need to take them captive and say, this is not what I stand on.
Yeah, and I would agree. And look at where you guys, I see this as, gosh, I know early on in our marriage, we struggled with this a little bit. And it was once we truly just looked at each other and just said, look, it's done. And if you have to have that conversation with your spouse, and maybe for you, you need to write some things down, and you need to take that piece of paper and put a big X through it, like it's done, and burn it, then do that. Because sometimes we need to, make sort of a physical declaration of this is over with. And we are not going to deal with this, or I'm not going to deal with this any longer. On the other side of it is, I agree with Elisa, is that look forward. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is it about the sexual intimacy that you have with your husband? Look at that. Look at how important that. I would look at that more than I would be looking at, I had sex with a guy once and that was it. What kind of sexual intimacy can you have with your husband now? What ways can you initiate? What are some fun things that you bring to the bedroom that he brings to the bedroom? Make that the most enjoyable piece of it. And I will say, Elisa and I just celebrated 19 years. We are having the best sex of our married lives now. That's 19 years of having sex together even. I mean, it's amazing where we're at because we've left all that junk behind. Yeah, it comes up. We talk about it. Sure. We mention it, obviously, on the show here. But it's left behind. It's not going to stop us from going up to our bedroom and enjoying each other. And so I'm reading this awesome book by our pastor, Jurgen Matthesius. It's called Push. And
which stands for pray until something happens.
Yeah. And there's this piece, it's on page 147, is self will trump God's will. And it says, the Bible teaches us that the human will is so powerful that it will resist the devil. He will flee from us. And if we reject God, he will reject us. But if we will draw near to God, then he will draw near to us. And that's in James 4:7-8. Yes, the human will is just that powerful. You can, with your will, choose to push God away, or you can draw near to him and have him, therefore, draw near to you. Thus experience his presence and goodness. These are all acts of your will. So, in saying that, it's you pressing forward and you just going, you know what? I'm not going to listen to you, devil. I'm not. You're done. You're out of here. Sometimes you need to speak that truthfully and just say it. You're done. You're out of here. I am not going to allow those thoughts to hold me captive because I'm a new creation in Christ and I know I've been forgiven. So we're going to just move forward in that. So for those of you, though, who are ready to just pray until something happens, again, pick up. It's right there. It's called Push by Jurgen Matthesius. He's an amazing guy. Just love him to death and his insights in prayer. And, for myself, just learning how much it impacts my life. Mm-hmm.